there. This is Real Talk Baseball. I'm Carlos Baseball. With me, as always, is Ernie Orange. And we have a special guest today. He's an LA native who started making 1-minute videos to share LA history. We're really proud of that, of course. He loves baseball and is a big family guy. He's a UCLA Bruin. He's none other than LA in a Minute, Evan Lovett. Thank you, Evan, for joining us. How's it going, man?
For sure. What's up, guys? Thanks for having me, man. This is awesome.
This is really awesome, dude. How's your Sunday going, by the way?
So far, so good. I'm exhausted, to be honest, because I was at the Dodger game all day. It was Dodger Day for my son's Little League. So obviously we love going to the stadium, but that's a long day. There's like the parade beforehand, and we were in the right field pavilion. Sun was beaming. It was a beautiful day in LA, but it gets hot there. You have a couple beers. It'll catch up with you. Kids run the bases after. Parking lot. It's a long day. I mean, no excuse. It's a great day and a beautiful way to spend a Sunday. Nowhere I'd rather be, but yeah, it was a great Sunday.
Nice. Ernie, how's it going, dude? It's a sunny day. It's not raining. We get to talk baseball with Evan Lovett. So
that's great. It was a great weekend, man. It's the first weekend in a couple weeks that I have not seen rain on the weekend, which is great for us LA natives. Yeah. But it was definitely a hot one today. And Evan Lovett, thank you for taking the time by being here with us today and Real Talk Baseball. We enjoy talking baseball, and why not have an LA native like you be part of the show and talk some baseball?
Appreciate it, man. Appreciate it. I'm seeing this Glasnow comment come in. I don't want to jump ahead out of line, but
that's fine. Go for it. How good did he look?
I gotta tell you, it's funny. I was worried about Glasnow because just injury prone, never thrown a lot of innings. You know, he's an LA County guy, right? You guys. Yep. So exactly. I love that. But I was like, dude, is he going to pitch 120 innings? You know, another one of those guys. But, man, he looks fantastic. And what's funny, my kid's a pitcher. He's 10. He has long hair, too. So I kind of call him Mini Glasnow. And, like, it's fun to watch him because now I have a more vested interest in him just being a Dodger. Like, and now he kind of, like, reminds me of myself, even though it's silly. You know, he's 10 years old, but I'm like, this is pretty dope. But, yes, definitely Cy Young contender. His stuff is ridiculous.
Yes, it is, and that's why they brought him in here. Remember, in 2020, he was with the Rays, and he pitched against the Dodgers in that World Series that everybody's calling this doesn't count, but it counts to everybody here in LA, right? So, I mean, I had to bring that up because he was part of that team. Does it hurt though? Does it hurt that they say that for you?
I think about this a lot, man. I really do, and like, look. I'll tell you one thing. First of all, 81 wasn't a full season either. I don't know if that's a point in our favor. Again, number two, I always say that, look, like that was the toughest postseason of all time because you play more games, had to win more series, all that kind of stuff. And it was just weird. Like, listen, it counts absolutely because it wasn't easier and it wasn't the postseason was still the tough, difficult, weird situation, all that kind of stuff. I will tell you that as fans, we got cheated with no parade. Like, that sucks. I will say that. But no, that's a real ring, although I do think about that all the time. And I'm like, it sucks one way or the other like that. But I'll take it. And my son today was talking about like 88 to 2020. And there was no asterisk and he's a young kid. So, like, I was like, good. Like, they just think and know that that's a real title. So that's good enough for me, you know?
That's true. I kind of feel like, okay, what do I go? Sometimes I go with the fans are like, yeah, you're right. It was a short season. But then I go to the side. I'm like, no, why should they be right? I think I'm okay with just having that 60-game season and becoming a World Series. So,
and you know what else too? Let's call it like it is, dude. The Astros and the Red Sox. Like, the Astros was BS when they beat us. Like, that was straight up robbery. And I don't know. I heard whispers about the Red Sox too. So that's all I'm saying. Mookie Betts or not, you know what I mean? Like, so I feel like we deserve that one regardless. And they won it, and it was awesome. So I take it. It's a World Series. Here, look. I don't know if you guys can see.
Yes.
That right there.
Yes, so, for me, I have the same thing.
Absolute real title that I'm proud of. So, you know what? F anybody who says otherwise.
Exactly. Ernie is an Angel fan. He saw his Angels win it in 2002, which was exciting for me, for every baseball fan here, right, Ernie?
Okay. That's right. It was time of the Rally Monkey. Good times in 2002.
Hold on. Talk to me about the Angels real quick, because it's got to be hard to be an Angels fan, man. Like,
oh, it really is. We just didn't do enough this offseason after losing Shohei, a mega superstar like that, and not really spending any money by Artie Moreno. It's tough. And we continue to have Anthony Rendon, and he doesn't seem like he's happy on the field. And now he's going out with a hamstring injury.
Guy doesn't like playing baseball, bro. The guy says he doesn't enjoy play. Or I'm paraphrasing, but he doesn't love it the way some guys love it, and that sucks as a fan, in my opinion, to have to pay for and root for a guy that isn't fully immersed in the sport, especially that kind of money he's making. Come on.
Yeah, that is true. He has one of the top contracts.
And this is the thing with the Angels, right? Is you guys have that history, recent history, from Josh Hamilton to Pujols to what's that pitcher? CJ. Hold on, who's the
Wilson.
pitcher? Who was it?
CJ Wilson.
Yes, right. Yes. Vernon Wells, like signing after signing, just not working out. Like, that sucks, dude. And yeah, sorry that you're an Angels fan. No, I'm just I'm like, I never hated on the Angels. I didn't like when they tried to do Los Angeles Angels. That was a slap in the face, I'm going to be honest. But I don't know. I root for Trout. When they had Trout and Ohtani, it was perplexing because it should have been something a lot more than what it was. But it's just a weird organization, man. So I don't know. Rally monkey. All right, there you go.
Yeah, most of the Angel fans want Artie Moreno to sell the team.
Wasn't he going to?
So 2 years ago he put the team on the market, and then he decided to talk it over with his family and say, you know what, we're just going to keep the team after all. So here we go. Another. I don't know how much longer we can stay in this.
What's going to happen with Trout?
Well, it looks like the whole MLB fan base would rather see him in another team, but it looks like he's going to stay put, and he's happy to be there, which is surprising me. I mean, it's a $426 million contract. It's hard to say no to, right? You get a chance to live in Orange County, but it's still close to LA. And why not? I mean, 400. What do you accept the 400 million and just be happy?
I mean, for him, but you also got a legacy. What is he's played in one postseason, right?
That's correct. One postseason. He's 1 for 14 in that run. Only one home run, but he says he wants to stay with the Angels and continue winning. I don't know when that will be, but hopefully these young kids.
Good for him, because he at least look. And I don't follow him. He seems like a great human being. Obviously, fantastic player. I think he's having a big time year again. Finally, this year too, right? So far, stealing bases again, if I'm not mistaken, right? So, I mean, kudos to him for doing what he's doing. But again, now Joe Odell isn't going to pan out. I mean, just seems like the Angels, things just don't work out, man.
As much as you want them to work out to where you have the players all there, right? You see Rendon going out now to the IL, and you're like, wait. This guy just said he doesn't, want to give 100% to baseball. We don't know if he really likes it. Everybody that plays baseball loves it. I don't know how when you get to that point to become a professional baseball player, when does it become a job, right? So I kind of feel and understand where he's coming from, but him saying that in public kind of hurt the organization and the fans too, right, Ernie? I know when you heard that, you were kind of like, what the hell? Why would he say it like that? So, I mean, that sucks. Going on the same note with the Angels, I heard your podcast, Evan, and you said something about Troy Glaus.
Yeah.
And I wanted to ask you, did you meet Troy Glaus?
I did meet Troy Glaus.
Nice.
So I went to school. I went to UCLA. I was an aspiring baseball player, okay? I graduated high school at 16, but I played baseball. And at the time, I thought it was an advantage because I threw hard. I wanted to be a pitcher, right? And I could throw mid-80s. I topped out at 86, which isn't much, but I was like, I'm 16. I feel like my dream was somebody to be like, oh, that kid's young, and we're going to take a chance because we could doesn't matter because it's good, but it's not phenomenal, right? So the real route would have been go to JC and then work my way up, but try selling that to my parents. So I went to UCLA, walked on, not as a true walk-on. What they had back then was a taxi squad, right? They carried 33 on the roster, and then they carried 17 other guys as a taxi squad, just to have more bodies and more practice for the real players. And I was working and putting work, but then you get there and you see, and this is when Troy Glaus was on campus. And I played with some good players. I played with some guys who were drafted. Wayne Nix, who was one of the, I don't know if you've heard the name, he's one of the bookies that's sort of involved in the Ohtani case, by the way, periphery. Yeah, he was Puig's bookie, right? So he got busted, and anyway, long story. He went to Monroe. He was drafted. John Ennis, he played in the major leagues for a while. Victor Hall, drafted by Diamondbacks. So I played with guys who were really good and were drafted. However, when I got to UCLA and I saw Troy Glaus, back then there was a guy named Jim Park, who was an Asian pitcher, ended up pitching for the White Sox. There was Chase Utley came in the year after. But Glaus was the guy that was just like a hulking, huge dude in the locker room. And this was mid to late 90s. I know you guys are younger, but I'm telling you, the bats that they used back then were 2 3/4 inch barrels. By the way, it's 2 5/8 now. They were bigger bats, bigger barrels. Go back and watch some of the old College World Series from like 98, 99. I feel like there was one year USC scored like 24 runs in a game, and every game was like 16-11, 10-9 was almost like a pitcher's duel. But you got a guy, Troy Glaus, that's probably like 6'5", 230 at UCLA. I don't know if you've ever been to Jackie Robinson Stadium. But
yes, I have.
Trees out there, the proverbial hit him over the tree, like for real, over the light post, over the trees. And anyway, that was essentially the guy that I was like, all right, I can rest now knowing that I'm not a big leaguer and going to ever be a big leaguer, because that's just talent on like such a different scale and such a different level. But yeah, Glaus was there and was the guy that probably gave me the biggest reality check. So
really, he gave you the reality check. He was just like,
not like, oh, you, not like that. Reality check, like just watching him and being like, dude, I throw 86. Let's say I even get up to 90, which was my goal, by the way. I was like, one day I just want to throw a pitch 90. Now 90 is 100. You know what I mean? Because back then it was different. Like 90 was, you would raise eyebrows if you could throw 90 back then. Dude, now you're not even getting a look at 90 because everybody throws 100, drive line and all that stuff. But seeing Glaus, I was like, all right, rest assured, I'm not striking this guy out. And that end of story, seeing that kind of power, that's the real deal. So it actually helped me in the sense that I was like, all right, I'm not going to be chasing this dream for very much longer. And that's why I became a journalist after that.
So you graduated at 16 and you went to tryout and you made the taxi
squad, UCLA,
squad. But at 16, you're seeing these big.
17 by the time I got to UCLA.
Okay, so you still haven't even hit your full growth spurt. You still feel like, okay, I'm throwing 86. Should I wait a little bit?
It's so funny because now they hold back kids, right? And that's a real thing. Like back in my day, if you got held back, it was like quote unquote flunking a grade, and it was very rare. If somebody had been held back, you were like, oh man, either, I don't know, they're not smart. It's not true. But I mean, back then I would have been like, oh, I guess they're not smart enough or something like that. And then, but now they do it on purpose because it's such an advantage for sports. I thought it was the other way around. So I had skipped a grade. That's what it was. I'm born in September, which was early. And then I'd skipped a grade. And I always thought it was an advantage because I was like, dude, younger. You want a younger prospect because you could work with them more, not realizing that like you still got to perform. And when you are younger, you still got to be like a phenom, which I wasn't. I was pretty good. I had a good arm, but not elite. So end of story. Nobody was doing me any favors. And there it was.
Well, I mean, you got to see baseball. You got to the college level, which is cool. You know, like, is there any other baseball players that you have met and you have kept in contact? Not, in UCLA. I know you said that you read the newspaper and you keep up with like the Stanton. You kept up with all these guys that are from the LA area, which is a lot of players. I think you said that we have the most players that make the MLB,
right.
And that's dope. That's really dope. Bro. Yeah,
absolutely. And I mean, I'm out here in the Valley, so that used to be the big time hotbed of all the players, like Notre Dame High School, John Carlos Stanton, who was Mike Stanton when he was at Notre Dame High School. He's a recent guy. What's the name? Like Hunter Green also went to Notre Dame. He's the guy that throws like 104 for the Reds. But so much talent. I mean, everybody. Who were other guys? Christian Yelich from Westlake. I mean, so many big Valley guys. I keep in touch with my old teammates and my guy. I mean, again, my boy John Ennis played for the Tigers, Phillies, and Braves, but it was like 82 games. I don't know, but he was a big leaguer. So we always kind of tease him. We're like, not tease him, but like he lived the dream, dude. Because any of us, if you play baseball, what would you give for just one day? Moonlight Graham, bro, like just one step on a major league field, and to have your name etched in that the forever encyclopedia of like, yo, this dude was a big leaguer, bro. Yeah. Like you could go to the grave and be like, well, I made the big leagues, and that was the dream, man.
So. That's true. That's a huge dream.
Yeah.
Ernie, you got a question for Mr. Lainaminute?
Evan, yeah, I got a question for you, man. I guess since you've been involved a lot of baseball in your time, what's your most memorable baseball moment that you can remember? I know there's going to be plenty because, I mean, everybody does.
That's a really good question. You want to know something fun? You want to know truthfully my most memorable? It's a bad one, but it's a good story. Okay. There was a guy named Gabe Creeshon who ended up being a tight end at UCLA, football player. He also played on the baseball team there. But he was a really good baseball player in high school. He played for Chaminade High School, and he was a stud, like all area, blah, blah, blah. Again, another huge guy. I was pitching for my American Legion team, which was Panorama City, and we were at Chaminade, and Chaminade has like a short porch in right, like probably 280, 290, but it has a high fence.
Okay.
And I was pitching. And by the way, here's another thing with my pitching. I could throw hard, but I had no control. I was always walking guys. Like, back then, whip was not a stat, but my whip would have been like 2+, which is because I was walking guys and hitting guys all the time ever since Little League. It's funny with my son now because how I kind of focus with him. You got to throw strikes. You can't do anything without command and without throwing strikes. And I heard that when I was a kid, but I never really believed it because I was like, nah. I'm going to throw as hard as I can, and that's what's going to get everybody's attention. And, man, now, older, I was like, that must have been so frustrating for all my coaches because I got kids that are similar. I'm like, bro, just take a little off. Just throw strikes. Anyway, point is, so I was always pitching this. And I had some good games, but, some days you're just off. So I'm pitching at Chaminade against Gabe Creeshon's team, and I walked the first batter – hit the second batter, walk the third batter. Creeshon's up. He hits a home run, but so grand slam right off I'm down 4-0 right off the bat. Pop fly though over the short porch and right, and I was like, I mean, not like it felt good about it. I was like, that's a real home run, you know what I mean? So whatever, dude. Long story short, rest of that inning, I'm walking guys, giving up hits. It's like 5-0, 6-0. First inning, bro. Talk about not giving your team a chance. And it's a hot summer valley day. Anyway, I got 2 outs. He comes up again in the same inning. First inning, he comes up again and hits like a 430-foot bomb in the gap, erasing all doubt, because in my head, I was like, cheap homer. Meanwhile, I couldn't throw a strike or get anybody out, throw enough strikes to get anybody else out. He hits 2 home runs off me in the same inning. I gave up 11 runs without finishing an inning. So how about that for a baseball memory?
Oh no! Wow. So was both of them a grand slam?
No, the first one was a grand slam. The second one I think was a 2-run home run.
Okay, I was about to say. Oh, so that was a Tatis moment, or
yeah, 1 inning, dude, hit 2 bombs. But you know what? At the time, I was like, dude, the guy played at UCLA, played UCLA football.
Oh, that's dope, man. Well, that's a good story. I mean, it's not a very good one.
Retrospect, absolutely, bro.
Yeah, but I mean, it is a good baseball story. It's kind of funny when you go back to your playing days and you're like, damn, I pitched to this guy. Like, what the hell? Like, yeah. I pitched to a few guys.
Here's a better one. You guys remember Randy Wolf?
Yes, the Wolfpack. Yeah.
Okay, so he was a left-handed pitcher at El Camino High. We had a pitcher named Joel Zamudio who at Monroe, I went to Monroe, by the way, that was projected to be a first-round draft pick before the season. He threw like 93, 94, which, again, I just want to reinforce to all the younger viewers, that was heat back then, dude. If you were throwing 90-plus in high school, it was for real, like scouts, radar guns. The bleachers were packed. Now, 90, like, okay, you get some looks and maybe you're on the varsity team. But back then, you were like the man. So anyway, it was Joel Zamudio projected to go in the first round, and then Randy Wolf of El Camino, who ended up winning like 160 games in the bigs, played for the Dodgers. His brother's still a manager. Anyway, biggest game I ever played in. I was on varsity. It was 11th grade. I was a starting center fielder, and we're going up against Randy Wolf at Monroe. Fires a first. It's pitcher's duel. Pitcher's duel. First inning 0-0. Second inning 0-0. Third inning 0-0. Fourth inning, I'm up. No hitter. Broke up Randy Wolf's no hitter. Ended up stealing second. First move. Scoring the first run of the game. So there you go. Hit and stolen base off Randy Wolf, future big leaguer. I guess that's a positive highlight.
That is a positive highlight. He still has his brother umpiring, right? He's still in the I guess he's an umpire in the big leagues.
Jim Wolf.
Yeah,
that's
Jim
right.
Wolf. There you go. Yeah, you're right. Man, those are awesome stories, dude. We really love that you're so passionate when you talk about your career and how you talk about the city and that. I mean, that's kind of that vibe we like to give too. Like, we don't just want to come on and just talk. And that question that I want to ask you is, how do you get motivated, or is it the passion of your city and baseball that makes you like talk this way?
Man, look, dude, it's funny. I've been thinking about this recently too. My mom was very enthusiastic, positive person. And it's funny because everybody who knew my dad says, actually, watch this. They were like, you're a spitting image of your dad. This is funny. I just happen to have, I don't know if you guys could see that.
I can,
but
see
everybody's
it.
Like, you look exactly like your dad. You sound exactly like your dad. And I was that, honestly, I'll be straight. He passed away, but I was always like, my dad was my hero. I was just like my dad. But now that I grow older, I'm like, like maybe I got a lot of my mom's qualities. She also passed away. So I'm like, maybe I got a lot of my mom's qualities because she was the one who was outgoing, who was passionate, who was like relentlessly positive. And I don't know, that's just how, not every day of my life, but yeah, wake up excited about LA or excited about Dodgers or whatever it is, or watch my son play baseball. And in LA, every day, everywhere I'm going, I'm like, what's out here? Wherever I'm at, you know what I mean? You go to like San Pedro, or you go to Glendale, or you go to El Sereno, there's always a story out there. I was out in Montebello, and I know this isn't a baseball thing, but real quick, I was out in Montebello.
Go for it.
And I was covering the Armenian Genocide Monument. That's coming up this week. But as I'm leaving, I'm like, I still got a couple. I know Montebello's got to be known for something. And I'm leaving, and I'm like, see this sign for Monterey Park. And I was like, fuck, I know Monterey Park has to have a dope history. Look it up. Long story short, Laura Scudder, who maybe you know from peanut butter. There's Laura Scudder's peanut butter still. But she invented the modern potato chip. And I know that sounds like, all right, who cares? But to me, I was like, dude, that's exciting that like because of Laura Scudder in Los Angeles, in Monterey Park, we're eating. That's where Flamin' Hot Cheetos came from, basically, because before that, they had potato chips, but she invented the way to like seal them and make the bags so they stay fresh. Before, potato chips were only served fresh at a restaurant and then they go stale. So I was like, that's pretty dope. So long story short, wherever I'm at, I'm always like, there's always history and fun facts. And LA just has so many things that we don't stop to acknowledge or think about or celebrate. And I love uncovering those things. And it gets me excited, man. I don't know. It's fun.
That's really cool, man. You have the best news coverage for LA. We really appreciate it. I've learned so much just from watching your minute segments.
Oh, thank you,
me and Carlos are actually from born and raised in the city of Compton. We no longer live there now, but we once actually there. And you actually have a segment, two-part segment of the history of two-part segment of the history of Compton, which is amazing.
Compton was an important one to me because Compton has such a huge stigma, or not a stigma, but people, especially older than say 35, probably learned about Compton from like hip hop or rap and the home of gangster rap. And now it's a little bit, it's better and it's different. Even the thoughts, but there was a while where it's like, oh, Compton, like gangsters, like shootings, drive-bys. And I'm like, man, that can't be the whole history. And it's not the whole history. It's funny because my wife's family, she has family that grew up in Compton. She's like, it's so funny. I always thought Compton was Mexican. She's Mexican, by the way. So she's like, okay. I always thought Compton was Mexican because all my like tias and tios and like primos lived out there. And she's like, I didn't even realize it. And it gets me thinking, just like so many other LA communities, you have this evolution, you have this transition, and you have like a really great history. And Compton had to be two parts because I did need to address the 80s and early 90s because that is such a big part of it. But I didn't want that to be the whole thing, especially because of what Compton has become and what it was before. And it's still impactful and important during that period, and it needs to be fleshed out and explained. So yeah, that was important to me, and I had to make sure that it was a two-parter to be able to cover it with enough time.
Nice. We have a question from someone. I will go ahead and read it. El Dorn is a favorite movie for many. Was there ever a female team in LA like in the movie? I mean, outside of modern Sunday leagues, of course. Do you know of any?
I know there was. I know that there was like the Los Angeles Monarchs, I believe, but I wouldn't be able to. I should know. And to be honest, I just did a podcast episode for One Fact about every LA sports team. And I went painstakingly. I did Angel City FC. I did the LA Sparks. And I tried to cover that, but I didn't get into the depth that I should have on LA female baseball, because that is really important. But I will tell you this. I will tell you that Sherman Oaks Little League had the first all-girls Little League baseball team ever in 1995. So that was a big deal. And there was a pitcher named Isla Borders, I-L-Y-A, Isla Borders, who played in the minor leagues, who also came from the Valley as well. So LA female baseball players do have an impact. So I wish I could tell you about the team, but there is an impact in LA for female baseball. So good question. Great question.
Nice. Like, how do you keep all this information? Like, how do you, I mean, I forget what I ate yesterday. Like, you know, so.
I'll tell you what's funny. I'm not, and people have asked me before, they're like, you're an encyclopedia, or you know all this stuff. I don't remember it all. I remember some because it's fun, because it's interesting, but at the same time, bro, I'm terrible with names. Like, all happened today. I meet people that I know I just recently met, and I forget their name. So I call people like dog and buddy. You ever hear the story about Willie Mays? You know why they call him the Say Hey Kid?
I would love to hear it. Why they call him the Say Hey Kid?
Willie Mays was supposedly terrible with names. He couldn't remember anybody's name. So instead of being like, you know, he'd see somebody again and be like Steve, or like nice to meet you, he'd just be like, hey, like that was his. No matter who it was, it would be hey, because he didn't want to get somebody's name wrong. So they turned him into the Say Hey Kid, because he would never say anybody's name. He would always say hey. Anyway, I'm not comparing myself to Willie Mays. But like, I'm terrible at names. But you know how it is. Some stuff just sticks. Whether when you were in school, maybe you were good at math and bad at history, or good at, I don't know, what one's science and not good at another. When you're passionate about something, you tend to remember it more, but I'm definitely by no means remember all of it. Like I am organized and meticulous, but definitely don't remember all that stuff.
I gotcha.
Cool, man. I got one question for you, Evan. I know you're a big Dodger fan. How was your reaction when the Dodgers signed Shohei Ohtani to that $700 million deal? And what impact you think is gonna have in the LA community with him signing here? And
unfair question, because I took a lot of heat from my friends. I'll admit it. I was one guy that was like, I can't believe that. Like, all that. Here, what I said, to tell you the truth, before they signed him, I was like, whoever is going to pay $500 million is crazy, because I was like, again, he's not going to pitch for at least a year, maybe 2 years. As much as I know that he's this great hitter, fantastic, and truthfully, last year was the first year that I finally gave him the credit, the Babe Ruth credit that he probably deserved for a while. Took me that long to come around. I still was like, I don't want that problem on my payroll if he's not going to be that guy. Are you going to pay $500 million for DH? So they signed for $700 million. And I was like, dude, who are they bidding against? Like, I wasn't even ready to go $500 million, and they're going $700 million. And my friends were teeing off on me, because they're like, you're this LA guy. How do you not support best player in this sport, maybe in the sports history, blah, blah, blah. And then I was like, damn. But dude, honestly, you watch his work ethic, the way he approaches it. And again, it's legit hard to believe how good he is until you're watching him all the time. And then it's like, dude, he really is that guy. And even not pitching, like, look at him this year. He's not even having this great year, or it doesn't feel like he's, oh my God, every game he's doing it. But then you look at his numbers and you're like, if he's not even dominating right now, and he's putting up numbers like this already. Like, how good is that guy for real? And then just wait till he starts pitching. It's funny today at the parade before they call it a parade. It's not really a parade. It's just the kids march around the field. But at the parade before the game, the players were out there and he's working on pitching. And I'm like, dude, maybe I don't think he's come back this year, but he's fairly close. He's working. So, dude, you get him on the mound and doing what he's doing at the plate. Woo! So, but if I'm being fully honest, I'm not going to lie. At first, I was like, what are they doing? They just hamstrung. Although I will say this, when they found out about the deferred money, I was like, okay. I was like, that works a little bit better. That softens the blow. But yeah, I'm glad. And look, now I'm on.
I got the showtime.
Let's go, Shohei. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, just being real. Yeah.
That's cool, man. Because a lot of people here in LA were kind of like, all right, let's get them. We're going to be the best. And right off the bat, they're like, we're going to be the best. Right now, they're kind of struggling, and we expect that because the team chemistry is not going to be there right away. And that's what a lot of people don't understand. When you play a sport, things don't just click right away. And today they scored 10 runs, of course.
Especially baseball. But yeah, any sport. Keep going. Yeah.
And today they scored 10 runs, of course. But the thing with Ohtani is that man's a beast. Ernie got to see him and experience him firsthand because he was an Angel fan. And that's why, he got to see the both sides. I got to see him on TV. I got to see him pitch and hit once because I went to his first start here at Angel Stadium. I just wanted to see what the whole hype was. That man is tall.
What year? Wait, you went like back in the day, like his first start?
His very first start here in Angel Stadium was in 2018, I believe.
What were we were just like, I'm curious who this guy is.
Exactly. Yeah. So I got to experience that. He threw 5 hitless innings and he did really good. And that was just amazing in itself. And then when he was hitting, we were like, whoa, I'm seeing the modern Babe Ruth. Am I ever going to get to see this again? Like we're experiencing something that not a lot of baseball fans has ever experienced. They got to see Babe Ruth and then that was it. After that, we didn't get to experience it. Now we get it. Now we get to see it again.
Do you think two-way players are going to become a bigger thing?
Ooh, go ahead, Ernie. Go first.
I definitely, it's going to be I feel like up and coming players are going to definitely try to be a two-way player, but is it going to work out? That's the number one question. I just feel like a lot of managers are going to be like either bat or either pitch. You can't do both.
Because it's so specialized. It's so specialized.
And that's the reason why Shohei chose the Angels over the Dodgers back in 2017. It was the same reason because the Angels were the only team that allowed him to do the two-way. Wow. And not even the Dodgers were going to allow him to do that because there was no DH in the NL during that time. So that's why you have to go with the Angels.
Players in the draft historically. You guys remember James Loney on the Dodgers?
Yes, sir. I do. He's still with the network, actually.
Is he really?
Yeah, he's still in the network with sport. What is it? LA Sportsnet. He's doing some. He comes on sometimes right there. So
that's actually pretty dope. He was cool, but he was supposedly a better pitcher. I don't remember if he was high school or college, but he was a left-handed pitcher. I want to say in Florida. Don't quote me, but he was a pitcher hitter, and he's supposedly a better pitcher. But they were like, "Listen, you got to focus on one. You're less likely to get injured. You're more likely to have a longer career, not less likely to get injured, but you're more likely to have a longer career as a hitter." So he stuck in it was a hitter. And again, I used to like James Loney. He was a guy who hit like 290 with like 12, 15 home runs. I thought he was like a Mark Grace kind of guy, if you guys remember that.
Yeah, I do.
This was just coming off the steroid era. And if you were a first baseman that didn't hit 30 bombs, like nobody cared, right? Like you needed power. So I feel like he almost got a raw deal. But the point is, they always said he quote unquote could have been a two-way player, but they're like, nah, pick one, bro. Like you got to be a hitter or a pitcher, and there you go. You guys heard about this player from University of Florida, Jock Peterson, but it's Jock like Caglione or something like that. Have you seen this guy?
Yeah, I haven't read about it. He hit 9 straight home runs, right? In 9 straight games. He looks like the real deal.
516-foot home run, bro. Did you see that?
Yes, crushed.
But supposedly he's a pitcher too, though. And they say, I mean, it's early. It's still middle of the college season. But they say he's going to be drafted because he's first round. So he's going to say, whoever drafts me, I'm going to be a two-way player. So we'll see. So
I think to answer that question for me, I feel like whoever's going to be doing that, they need to push the issue. They need to get an agent that kind of pushes that issue, kind of like what Ohtani did. Ernie just said that the Angels push it and said, okay, we're going to allow you to pitch and hit. You know, that's why they created that DH spot, which is kind of designated for Ohtani to whenever he finished pitching, he could still bat. So now that's in. So now the other players that come and start doing that because they want to mimic their favorite player. And right now, favorite player is Ohtani. Like whether you like it or not, a lot of young kids are looking up to this guy, right? So they want to go ahead and pitch. They want to hit home runs. So yes, I think there is going to be more of Ohtanis out there. But who opened the door for this right now? I think it's Ohtani. And this is great for the game of baseball for it to grow because he's kind of playing like little league out there. He's doing little league things out there in the pro baseball, stadium. So it's like it's amazing when he does all these things. So yeah, I think it is. Like, do you feel like that's gonna happen or no?
You guys said something. Well, going back to Ohtani real quick, he said something. He's so big, man. Like that's the thing. Again, people say it, but it's so hard to believe until you like really see him out there, which at its core is like he's such a special physical specimen, right? Where you could be a great player and a great two-way player, but he's also just a huge, strong, athletic human being. I don't know. Can a guy that's 6 foot 180 do the same thing in baseball? Can you be that dominant? So you not only have can he do it on both sides, but just built to last. And even with Ohtani, again, getting injured, you know what I mean? So it's like, again, it's a huge investment. And look, tangent, but true story, pitch counts, pitching injuries, pitch clock, the emphasis on velocity, pitching has changed so much. And I feel like every pitcher gets injured, like every single one. And it's like ridiculous to the extent of, do you want this best player, this phenom that can play both ways? Why even risk it as a pitcher if you know he's going to get injured? Because they're all getting injured now, whatever it is. That I think it's the emphasis on velocity, but there's a lot of different factors. But again, I hope there's a guy because it's exciting. And like you said, the kids love it. The kids absolutely love Ohtani. I went with the Little League team today, all huge Ohtani fans, so it's good to see that, but it's asking a lot.
They went to a great game today, by the way. They got to witness a home run, which is special for them.
Listen, I knew they were the Dodgers couldn't get swept today. They just couldn't. I knew they win. I didn't think it would be 10-0, but yes, to your point, I told myself, I was like, that's special. It's the first time he got to. It was funny because the first at bat, Ohtani struck out, and I'm like videoing it. You know what I mean? With my phone, I was like, "Ooh, I'm gonna get this home run on video," and he strikes out. Second one, I was like, "All right, I'm not gonna tape it." And that's the one that gets home run. But more importantly, my son saw it and got to be there for an Ohtani home run, and then Page's first home run.
Yeah,
Glasnow is so lights out, man. His stuff is ridiculous. I remember him in that 2020 World Series, and I'll be honest, I hated him. I was like, because you had heard, I don't know if you remember when he was with the Pirates, he had this reputation, but I'd look up and his ERA is like 5.5 or something. I'm like, why does everybody say this guy's so good? Like his numbers are terrible. And I saw him in the World Series. So I was like, all right, the guy's dealing for sure. But I was like, I don't know. His stats aren't that good. But now watching him and now he's our guy. Woo-hoo-hoo, that stuff is nasty, dude. That is nasty. So yes, great game to go to for everybody.
Nice. I know you brought up Mark Grace. I don't know if you heard Mark Grace has cancer, dude. Like I've saw it all over social media, and I'm like, wait, like that's Mark Grace from the Cubs, and I saw, and I'm like, yeah. So he's battling cancer right now. So it's pretty crazy. Like it just came up, and I'm like, whoa. I saw it probably 2 weeks ago, and I looked all over Twitter, and I mean, he's battling it. He's doing his best, So I was gonna mention it last show, Ernie, but I totally forgot. But right now that you remind me, you said Mark Grace. I'm like, okay, yeah, Mark Grace. Yeah, he's battling cancer right now. So he was a big dude with the Cubs. Yeah, great.
And again, another guy got overlooked because he didn't hit for enough power, quote unquote. But he was like, I don't know. I don't have his stats in front of me, but I feel like he's borderline Hall of Fame at least, or at least should be mentioned. Maybe not in the Hall, but at least in the conversation.
Since you brought up the Hall of Fame, and we're Dodger fans, This is a question I ask everybody that comes on here. I've asked Ernie. I asked everybody that's been on this show. Does Barry Bonds, knowing that he's a Giant and you're a Dodger fan, and I want you to be a baseball fan right now, not a Dodger fan, does he belong in the Hall of Fame?
Listen, Barry Bonds, Manny Ramirez, Gary Sheffield, Alex Rodriguez, Roger Clemens, the list goes on. For me, all those guys deserve to be in the Hall. I fully understand and respect the standpoint. Palmeiro, that was the sport at the time. Sosa, McGuire, it was the sport. And listen, it sucks. If you didn't do steroids and you play in the big leagues, I'm sorry, and it's terrible, and you got cheated. I understand that. But especially Bonds and Clemens, for me, like those are two guys that steroids or not, were so good. And if you guys do remember, I know you do, watching Bonds was so special. It was so different. And I'll still to this day, because always in my feed, I get that Gagne Bonds at bat. Like, is this the greatest at bat of all time? And I'll watch it every time because I'm like, dude, Bonds does things. Steroids are not like, listen, you could say maybe Sammy Sosa wouldn't have been the same guy. That's one guy where I'm like, he probably would have been like a third, fourth outfielder somewhere. But Bonds, bro, with those hands, just like the way he hits, right? The hands were so quick. The eye was so discerning. What he was able to do with the ball, reading pitchers, anticipating. And then you just go back to the stats where if he would have retired in like 98 before he did anything, he's still a Hall of Fame player. So for me, Bonds needs to be in the Hall. And baseball, this goes to a bigger question. Baseball has shot itself in the foot so terribly over the last 30 years since Ken Griffey Jr. was the superstar in baseball in the late 80s, early 90s, through the 90s. And baseball wasted his career. I'm not saying he could have been Michael Jordan, but baseball should have marketed him like their Michael Jordan. Because Griffey with the hat backwards, having fun, so much personality, the most beautiful swing ever, one of the best gloves of all time, always smiling. How was this guy not a super duper star? And ever since then, baseball's been so terrible at marketing their stars. And it's such a sad thing. But to the point of the Hall of Fame, Bonds and Clemens not in the Hall of Fame is a joke because they're two of the best of all time. And how do you have a Hall of Fame without a guy with 7 Cy Youngs? And I think Bonds has like 7 MVPs. And it's like, come on, that's ridiculous, bro. So, yeah, I'm in the Bonds the Hall club.
Okay. Yeah. And we have someone put Pete Rose. I'll go ahead and throw him on there too. Do you think he belongs in the Hall of Fame as well?
Yeah, hell yeah. All-time hit leader. And you know what my dad used to say? He was a fan of Pete Rose, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in basketball, Walter Payton in football, where he's like, when a guy is elite for 15 years in a sport, like, and a kid, you don't understand, but you're like, for a guy to do what he did for so long at the highest level of baseball, like, it wasn't just Harold Baines, no diss. I like Harold Baines, but Harold Baines kind of stuck around for so long that his numbers look good. But I don't know if you guys were baseball card guys. If you get a pack of cards in 1989 and you pull a Harold Baines, you're not even stopping. You know what I mean? Like, that's not a Hall of Famer to me. But Bonds is the guy you'll pull out of the pack and be like, oh, and you'll show your friend. Like, so I don't know. That's all. So Pete Rose, absolutely. Hall of Famer, hits leader, Charlie Hustle, plays the right way. Uniform always dirty. Love the game. Still loves the game. Like, love that, man. But all-time hits leader, got to be in the Hall.
Yeah, we have guys like Scott Rowland in there. He just got in last year. And I question that. I'm going to be honest. I question that. You have players that are hitting 300 above, close to 500 home runs, and then you have Scott Rowland. So I'm kind of like,
I'm so glad you say that because there's this movement recently. I don't know if you want to call it sabermetrics or what, but these guys that have no business. Listen, I'll go a step further. I didn't think Edgar Martinez deserved to be in the Hall of Fame either. Like a DH, good average, but his stats just don't pop off the page. And they're like, well, he's the best designated hitter of all time besides David Ortiz. I'm like, yeah, but he was a designated hitter. If you're going to do that, you need to have David Ortiz numbers that are just like off the charts. So for me, ever since there's a guy, Ted Simmons got in, Harold Baines, Lee Smith, Alan Trammell, all these guys recently that are like good, but I'm like, those aren't like Hall of Famers. So yeah, Scott Rowland, I'm glad you said that. And I know there was a big movement to get him in the Hall. Todd Helton kind of falls in that category. I'm okay with Helton, but at the same point, I'm not like, oh man, that guy's all. When he was playing, I wasn't like, wow, what a Hall of Famer, So
yeah, that's how I felt, and I felt like why? And Ernie, I think we had that conversation when we were like, Scott Rowland, really? Like, why?
Yeah,
I couldn't wrap my mind around it. But he's a lovable guy by the media. The media loves this guy. Like, I'm gonna be honest, that's what it is. Like Barry Bonds is not liked. He's not liked by the media. And
Sheffield, same camp, man. Dude, Sheffield needs to be in the Hall. Sheffield was one of my favorite players ever when I was. You guys remember him with the Dodgers too?
I remember he had some huge ass calves, dude. Huge.
Dude, and again, I saw Ernie was about to do the Sheffield thing, which is so much. His numbers are ridiculous. And here's the thing with Sheffield too. He never struck out. Like he never struck out 100 times. Like that dude had such an amazing approach to the game, approach to the plate, but he wasn't liked. It's in the same camp as Bonds, where the media is like, screw that guy, he was so mean to me and he was rude and he didn't give me an interview. And so it's like, what, bro? Like, come on. So again, baseball marketing shooting themselves in the foot, which sucks, man.
It does. We do have a question on here. I want to go back to if you can answer it. How do you feel about Braun, I guess, getting the MVP in 2011? If I remember correctly, and I'll go ahead and say it, is that the one? I guess that's the one that they stole off of Matt Kemp.
Matt Kemp, dude. Did Matt Kemp almost go 40-40 that year, if I'm not mistaken?
He did.
Wasn't he close? So
he was one home run away, and I think he did reach the stolen bases.
Dude, okay. So Braun should not have won it. Kemp absolutely should have won it. And then Braun steroids. But I will say this, Ryan Braun from Granada Hills High School, LAUSD product. So I got to at least represent that. But at the same time, in retrospect, that was some garbage. And Kemp, why didn't he get it? Did the Brewers win it? What happened? The Dodgers didn't win the division. It was some BS where it was like, oh, all right. One of those things where, again, this narrative takes hold. And then the voters like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And blah, blah, blah. But no, I remember Kemp had better numbers and I was pissed off.
Yeah. So I think what happened in that year, I feel like I want to say, and correct me if I'm wrong, the Dodgers did not make the playoffs. And I think the Brewers did. And that's what kind of gave them the edge. And that's what kind of set, everything from that point on. We're like, okay, so you have to be in a winning team in order to win an MVP. But then you look back in 2001 and you're like, wait, Barry Bonds won an MVP without going to the playoffs. So how is that relatable? So all these rules change and you're like, what's going on? Like, why not him? Why don't you allow him to be the MVP? So
people put it out there and then all of a sudden everybody buys into the same narrative. But yep, you're 100%.
Yeah, so that's what kind of sucks. Ernie, you got anything else? We got a lot of the message board is going off. We have a lot of stuff going on there, but
yeah, man. I guess I just want to ask Evan a quick question. Any advice you would give anybody that's listening or anybody that would be interested in doing content creation just like you? What kind of advice would you give these people that are interested? For us, we're new to the game too. We started the podcast a couple of years back. I know Carlos has been doing it for 3 years, but any advice you would give us to continue to grow the channel, or anybody out there listening?
Biggest thing is be authentic and be genuine. And look, there's a lot of people out there that are interested in whatever you're interested in. And as long as you're prepared and you're authentic, it's gonna work because you have a platform, and we're lucky to be in an era where you can have a platform no matter what it is, and just keep working hard and trying to get better. Like anything else, I always tell my son, 50% of life is just showing up, right? Because again, half the people just don't show up. So you're already, just by doing so, if you're going to start a podcast or if you're going to start a feed, do it. Don't just talk about it, because once you do it, you're there and you're already doing it. So you might as well keep going. And then you prep, you do your homework. Mine involves a lot of research and stuff like that. I feel that that's a big key to the success. which is equivalent to hard work, whatever it is, because it's not always going to be the same. Mine's a lot of history and stuff, so it involves research. But with a podcast, like, for instance, better equipment, what equipment should I use? Like, that stuff really matters. Or what's the approach and consistency? People know, oh, I'm going to go live every Sunday night, or the new episode's going to drop every Friday, or stuff like that. Consistency, being there, doing it, and genuine authenticity, because as soon as you're fake, people nowadays know, and they can pick it up in a heartbeat. Like that's the big thing when you're trying to front. So be authentic, work hard, and just do it when you say you're going to do it.
Nice. For sure, man. Appreciate the feedback, man. We truly appreciate it. And first of all, I want to just thank you for being here with us today. We had a great show. We're excited to talk baseball with you, man. I know you have all the knowledge of LA, but talking baseball with you is amazing, because we could talk back history. We could talk about the future. And this Dodger-Angel rivalry will continue forever. Just saying. I don't know if it's a real rivalry, but I mean, it's a freeway series. Let's be honest. That 5 freeway connects us between Dodger Stadium and Anaheim.
Here's what the Angels have. They were the first professional baseball team in Los Angeles. So that's number one. Number two, the first freeway series, I just found this out, took place in Palm Springs, which I thought was pretty funny. So I don't know. I thought that was interesting. So respect and Angels had Nolan Ryan. Nolan Ryan's one of my favorite players ever. And Reggie Jackson. It's a good org. And that freeway series used to be more special when it was interleague play every year, but it's still fun. I'm still a Dodger guy, but again, I don't hate the Angels. So much love on all that.
Yeah.
All right, so you said rival, and we still have 9 minutes. If you can hang on a little bit, 9 minutes, we can hit that hour, because we are the power hour in Real Talk Baseball.
For sure.
The new rivalry that everybody seems to be hyped about, and I say new because I want you to answer this. As a Dodger fan, do you feel that the Padres are a rival of the Dodgers? And I want you to be honest. It's okay if you say it is or it isn't. Go ahead.
It's funny. All right, I'll tell you a couple things. First of all, my favorite. Well, when I was a kid, my little league team, my like when I first realized I was good at baseball, I was on the Padres. So I always have a soft spot for the Padres. I'm going to say that. Let me start there. Number two, beautiful stadium. San Diego is a fantastic city. I always say if I could live anywhere else that was not LA, it would be San Diego. I'm also was a big fan of batting average growing up. Kirby Puckett was my favorite player, but Don Mattingly, Wade Boggs, Tony Gwynn, one of the greatest hitters of our lifetime, San Diego. I'm also a Manny Machado fan. I'm one of the few Dodger fans that doesn't hate Machado. There's something about his cockiness that I don't know, with a cannon arm cocky, and I feel like he's a great fit in San Diego because he can just be left alone. He can jog if he wants to. He takes the post every day, but he doesn't always go 100%, which I know bothers some people. But if he hits 270 and 30 home runs, that's fine. In San Diego, he's a hero. They're going to build a statue for him in 10 years with no World Series rings, and that's fine. That's all they expect. So I like Machado. I know a lot of people hate him. But at the end of the day, they're not a rival, and you can't be a rival, A, when the Dodgers have a real rival with the Giants, and B, Padres have been to 2 World Series. I don't think they've ever won a World Series. They won that one series from the Dodgers. Was that last year or 2 years ago? Last year, right?
That was in 2022. 2022.
Okay. 2 years ago where the Padres, and that pissed me off. No, wasn't it last year when it was Hader versus Freeman, Betts, and I want to say,
that was 2022, 2023 that he make the playoffs. They were 1 game above 500 last year.
Okay, you're right. You're totally right. But it pissed me off, and good for them, feather in their cap. But nah, that's not a rival. We're their rival, but they're 5th on the list for the Dodgers, to be honest. I'm more worried about the Diamondbacks. Let's put it this way. And I'm not even calling the D-backs a rival, but I'm more worried about the Diamond. I like so is it a rival if I'm oh, that's cute. Yay, San Diego, great city. That's not a rival to me. So that's where I'm at.
Cool. I'm in the same boat. A lot of people don't agree with me. They think it is a rival. And I'm going to go ahead and say this. The reason that I don't think it's a rival is because they haven't met up in a lot of playoff series. They haven't met up in the way that, yeah, they swept us in 2022. But remember, we swept them in 2020 as well. How come that's not even brought up, you know? So we
Good
won the
point.
World Series in
That
2020.
was that Bellinger catch. That was that Bellinger catch here.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Against Tatis, right? Tatis hit that bomb off of Gratterall and Belly caught it.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
right. It was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just feel like it needs to happen more often. They need to make the playoffs more often. They need to battle it out there, and maybe we can consider, okay, yeah, it's becoming a rivalry. But as of right now, for me, I think that needs to happen for me to call it a rivalry. So yeah, I'm glad you answered it though. I'm glad you answered that.
I want to say, I just happened to see a note. Somebody mentioned Bryce Harper, and I just want to bring up the fact that I think, look, I'm too old to have quote unquote favorite players these days, but man, and I know like a Dodgers quote should be my favorite player, but I love watching Bryce Harper play. I just want to say that on record, because I thought I saw his name come up in one of the chats.
Yeah.
Where like, man, dude plays like his hair's on fire, plays like he's about to crash into a wall at all times. He has one of the most violent swings I've ever seen in my life, and it's a thing of beauty. So I know we didn't talk about it, but I thought I just saw Bryce Harper's name come up, and I just want to acknowledge that because I love that dude. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Who are your favorite players? I got to ask you guys real quick. If you got to say favorite players right now, who do you throw out there?
Right now or all time?
Right now.
Right now, that's going to be kind of hard. Ernie, go ahead and answer. Let me think about this.
I'm a Mike Trout fan. I think he just plays the game well. He has all 5 tools, and even though we had Shohei, I still thought Trout was a better player all around.
Harper, yeah, it's true. I mean, not quote true, but I agree. Is what I mean. Yeah.
I mean, if Trout could pitch, I mean, that would be a different answer. But obviously, he could run. He could hit. He could do it all. So
that's dope. Who do you got, Carlos?
So I put this guy on here, Arenado, because he's one of those fielders that gets everything. I have a friend that I kid around with because he loves Arenado, and I've never told him this, but I'm a big time Arenado fan. Like, I like how he fields. I love how he carries himself on the field and off the field. It's not just appearance, but he hits really good too. So he hasn't hit that well this year, I know. But
he always starts slow, bro. I know that from fantasy. I've had him in fantasy a few times. He always starts slow, but just wait. His numbers are going to be good, bro. His numbers are going to be good. I'm telling you.
Hopefully, because then my answer right now is not looking so great.
You know what else I like? Ellie De La Cruz, by the way. I got to give a shout out to Ellie De La Cruz. I think that's the kind of guy that baseball needs to market around also, because he's just like so exciting, man. Love that.
Yeah.
And Arenado, by the way, is from Greater LA. He's from Orange County. I want to say he's from like Lake Forest or somewhere like that too. He went to some baseball powerhouse, if I'm not mistaken. So Arenado is a local guy that I enjoy also.
Yeah, he is from California for sure. He's really like, okay, so then we already put that on the side. Who's the all-time favorite?
My favorite growing up was Kirby Puckett, but I can't say he's my all-time favorite player. What a great question, man.
I put you on the spot.
Listen, I'll tell you this. My all-time leadoff hitter is Ricky Henderson. I saw somebody's Twitter all-time team recently, and they didn't have Ricky Henderson leading off, and it kind of pissed me off. I mean, I think it was Ty Cobb, which I ain't going to talk trash about Ty Cobb. But, man, Ricky Henderson with that kind of power from the leadoff spot in that era, he put the stolen base record so far out of reach that it's like, dude, you could steal – nobody steals 80 bags right now, and you need to steal 80 bags for 20 years in a row to get to his record. He was exciting. I'll say this, my favorite athlete ever, Bo Jackson. So I don't know if that counts as favorite baseball player, but
it could. Yeah.
Well, those are kind of two of my favorite guys right there. Kershaw is up there. Wish his postseason history was a little better. Kershaw has a case, man. What are you guys?
Go ahead.
For me, growing up as a kid, was Roger Clemens, a Rocket. He was my favorite pitcher. I got to see him in 2006 in the World Baseball Classic, the first ever World Baseball Classic against Team Mexico. It was one of the greatest moments I can remember as a kid. In 2006.
That's great. That's great. What about you, Carlos?
So, you know what's crazy? I was in my home and I had just gotten the 2020 World Series trophy thing, the replica, and I just had put it there. And I had gotten the, what do you call it, the game, that game that came with what was it, Jackie Robinson right in the front, and I put them together. And of course, I was drinking, walking around, and I'm like, I never thought that Jackie Robinson was my favorite player. All that he had to endure, like everything that he went through. I just went deep with it. I just had a deep thought about it. I'm like, the way he played the game, the way he carried himself. It was just one of those things I never got to see him play, but all the stories, all the history, like everything that he did for the game, it evolved, right? And now that's why we have Ohtani, the Babe Ruth of baseball playing out here in the major league. So for me, it has to be Jackie Robinson, and that to me is like really special. It's like really dear to my heart because it's like one of those things where like if he made it, that gives possibilities to anybody. So that's pretty dope.
It's funny you bring that. Also, LA guy for real, Pasadena, Muir High School, community college, UCLA. So that's dope. But it's funny because that 42 movie's been coming up in my algorithm recently on TikTok. So I've been watching that, and I just watched that scene yesterday. I'm not even kidding you, where they're playing, I want to say, against the Phillies, and the managers and the players are talking like it's beyond talking trash. You know what I mean? Like, dude, and like you said, what he had to endure, we can't even fathom that now, bro. And everybody just look the other way when that stuff's going on. But that is crazy, man. Great call. And absolutely, I used to wear number 42. I used to play adult baseball after my like real career was over. I played adult baseball for something called the PCBL, Pacific Coast Baseball League, which is just Sunday league. But I wore number 42 in that out of respect, because I grew out of having favorite players. But I was like, dude, I got to grab that just out of respect for the game, because I played hard. And at that point, I was always stealing bases, going head first, dirty uniform every game. So paying homage to Jackie. But that's great. Favorite player all time. Wow.
Yeah. Cool. All right. We did reach that hour. We went a little over. We want to thank you, LA in a minute. Dude, we really appreciate you coming on here. We had a lot of fun talking baseball. This is what we do. This is what we do all the time. We talk baseball, we talk power rankings, we talk anything that has to do with baseball. We have people on the chat, and this is basically what we do every Sunday, and we do it for an hour. And we want to thank you for coming on here, answering people's questions, and hanging out with us. Like, you're welcome anytime you want to come on. I would really appreciate it if you come on again. It would be cool.
Dude, next time. And yes, let's do it again, because this is so much easier and more fun than like it was good. This was a lot of fun, but I want to talk fantasy and I want to talk power. Let's go later in the season, because look, it's April. Let me tell anybody that's a Dodger fan, don't be worried about the Dodgers. You said it earlier, Carlos. Things are it's early. They're gonna be fine. Don't even worry about it. But I want to see in like June, July, August, when stuff starts getting serious, where they stick around and who's really looking like the contenders in the NL. And let's dig deep into that. But I also want to talk some fantasy too, because I like to fashion myself a pretty good fantasy league player too. So let's get into that.
All right, so let's give our last mentions. I'll let you start, Ernie. Give our last mention before we log out.
Evan, thank you for stopping by. We really appreciated talking baseball with you, and everybody in the chat. Thanks for stopping by. Make sure to check out Evan Lovett's LA in a Minute podcast and every type of platform. That's correct, Evan?
That is absolutely correct. LA in a Minute. And then the podcast is In a Minute with Evan Lovett, but just in a minute, and you'll find me. It's legit.
Sweet. Evan, anything to say before we log off?
No, this was a lot of fun, man. And Carlos, I appreciate you. Both Ernie, thank you so much. This was fun. Genuinely, like, smile on my face. Go home and tell my wife and son. And I'm going to watch this when it's up on YouTube too. I appreciate it.
Sounds good. Thank you. So from all of us here at Real Talk Baseball, from LA in a Minute, this is Ernie Orange and Carlos Baseball. Real Talk Baseball, signing out.
Thanks, guys.